Hello and welcome to lesson 2 of the grade 4 theory tutor book. In this lesson we're going to learn about the brief, we're going to learn about the double dot, and we're going to learn about rewriting music from simple time to compound time. Just a little bit more. You've learned about this in previous grades, but we're going to go into it in a bit more depth in this book. So the first note we're going to introduce you to is something called the brief. Now the brief is quite an interesting note because we're looking at music from the medieval times, and the brief was used a lot in that time. What you've got to remember is that in the past all note values were a lot longer. You had note values that were 8 counts and you had notes values that were 16 counts as well. So this is where the word semi-brief comes from, because semi-brief means half a brief. So an 8 count is worth a brief. And you can see it's slightly different from the semi-brief in the fact it's got 2 lines either side of it. So a brief is worth 2 semi-briefs or 8 crotchets. So we don't see briefs very often these days, as we tend to use notes like the crotchet minim and much shorter notes to actually determine our tempo and timing. So first of all, you're asked to have a little practice of writing the brief on the stave here. Then after that, you're asked to write the brief rest. Now you can see with this brief rest here that it covers the whole of the third space. Remember that a whole bar rest hangs from the 4th line and the minim rest sits on the line, but this one fills the complete bar as shown. Then we're going on to learn about what's called the double dot. So far we've learnt about a single dot, which makes the note half as long again. So what you've got to remember about a double dotted note, it makes it half as long again. So if you've got a double dotted minim, the minim's worth 2, the first dot will be worth 1, and the next dot will be worth half. So a dotted double minim is 2 3/4 of a count. Now you can see here there's a little chart showing you all the possibilities you can have with double notes. So you've got your double dotted semi-brief there, which is a semi-brief plus a minim plus a crotchet. You've got your double dotted minims, which is a minim plus a crotchet plus a quaver. And you've got your double dotted crotchet, which is a crotchet plus a quaver plus a semi-quaver. Remember, you can do exactly the same thing with all the rests that go with these notes in the same way. So then you have a little bit of an exercise to do where you're asked to name how many notes are in some of these double dotted notes. So the first question says, how many crotchets in a double dotted semi-brief? Question 2, how many quavers in a double dotted minim? Question 3, how many semi-quavers in a double dotted crotchet? And finally, how many counts is the rest below worth? And then you've got to name that rest. So moving on, we've got rewriting music from simple to compound time signatures. Now the book introduces the fact that first of all, you've got the little chart that we revisit from your previous grade, which shows how the simple duple and the compound duple are very closely related and how they differ as well. In the fact the 2/4, which is called simple duple, is 2 lots of quavers grouped in crotchets, whereas the compound duple is 2 lots of dotted crotchets, which makes up 3 quavers, and so on. So if you look closely, you will see that the simple time signatures have no dots on their notes, but the compound time signatures always have dots on the notes. So That's worth remembering. And I think I explained last time that if you want to put this in a simple time, you use a triplet. And vice versa, if you want to put this in a compound chime, use a duplet. So what you have to do for this exam, you have to change a piece of music from simple time to compound time without changing its effect. So write a treble clef, then rewrite the melody in a 12/8 time signature without changing its rhythmical effect. So basically what you've got to remember really is if the note's undotted, you make it dotted. If it's grouped in twos, you put a duplet on it. So in this example here, that will be a dotted crotchet, that will be a dotted crotchet, and that will be a duplet. And then it works the other way around as well. So write a treble clef, then rewrite the melody in a 3/4 time without changing its rhythmical effect. So in this case, you will take the dots off, and if it's grouped in threes, you will put a triplet on it. And that completes lesson 2.